Tonight, you're going to close your eyes, and somewhere in the dark behind them, an entire world is going to switch on. You'll walk through places that don't exist, you'll talk to people who aren't there, maybe you'll fly or fall or run from something you can't quite see. And by the time you're eating breakfast, almost all of it will be gone. Here's the strange part. You'll do this again tomorrow night, and the night after that. The average person spends around 6 years of their life dreaming. 6 years! That's more time than you'll spend eating. And this isn't some modern glitch. Dreaming is older than language, older than farming, older than our species itself. Every single human who has ever lived has laid down in the dark and gone somewhere else. So why? Why does your brain build a fake world every night, run you through it, and then hide almost all of it by morning? For most of history, nobody could even prove dreams were real. You couldn't measure them, you couldn't point to one. As far as science was concerned, a dream was just a story someone told you after they woke up. That changed in 1953 in a sleep lab at the University of Chicago. A graduate student named Eugene Asarinsky was sitting up at night watching a machine scratch ink across a roll of paper, tracking the eyes of sleeping people. One of his subjects was his own young son. Late in the night, the pens went wild. The sleeper's eyes were darting back and forth under his closed lids, fast, like he was watching a tennis match, but his body was completely still. Asarinsky assumed his equipment was broken. It wasn't. He and his supervisor, Nathaniel Kleitman, had just found something no one had a name for. They called it rapid eye movement sleep, REM. And when they woke people up right in the middle of those bursts, the subjects almost always said the same thing: "I was just dreaming." For the first time, dreaming had a fingerprint, a physical event you could circle on a chart. And once scientists knew what to look for, they started finding it everywhere. They found it in animals. Nearly every mammal we've ever tested has REM sleep. Dogs, cats, elephants, mice. If you've ever watched a dog twitch and paddle its legs while it sleeps, eyes flicking, little muffled barks, you've watched this happen. In the 1960s, a French scientist named Michel Jouvet worked out why your dog doesn't actually get up and run the chase. During REM, the brain fires off a signal that paralyzes the body. Almost every muscle goes limp. It's a safety switch. Your brain is running a full simulation, and it quietly locks the doors so you don't hurt yourself acting it out. Then, Jouvet did something a little unhinged. He switched that safety off in cats, and the sleeping cats stood up. Eyes closed, sound asleep, they crept across the floor, stalked invisible prey, arched their backs, and pounced on absolutely nothing. They were acting out their dreams in front of him. Decades later at MIT, a researcher named Matthew Wilson recorded the brains of rats running through a maze. Then he recorded the same rats sleeping, the exact same cells fired, in the exact same order. The rats were running the maze again in their sleep. Think about what that means. Dreaming isn't a human invention. It isn't even a mammal invention. It's older than we are by tens of millions of years. Your ancestors were dreaming before they were human, before they were primates, before anything walked on 2 legs. But humans did something no rat ever did. We woke up and demanded to know what it meant. And for almost all of recorded history, the answer was the same. Dreams were messages, not from your brain, from somewhere out there. The oldest stories we have are stuffed with them. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, pressed into clay over 4,000 years ago, the hero keeps having dreams that the story treats as warnings, straight from the gods. The Egyptians turned it into a system. Around 1275 BCE, a scribe wrote out what we now call the Dream Book, a papyrus listing dream after dream and exactly what each one predicts. Good dreams in one column, bad dreams in another, sorted like a filing cabinet more than 3,000 years ago. The Greeks built entire buildings for it. Sick people would travel to the temples of the healing god Asclepius, sleep on the temple floor, and wait for a dream that would either cure them or tell the priests how. They called it dream incubation. And in the 2nd century, a Greek writer named Artemidorus put together a 5-volume manual for reading dreams, thousands of them, that people leaned on for over 1,000 years. For most of human history, if you wanted to see your future, the plan was simple: go to sleep. Then, in 1899, a doctor in Vienna flipped the whole thing inside out. Sigmund Freud published a book arguing that dreams weren't messages from the gods at all. They were messages from you, from the part of your own mind you keep hidden from yourself. Now, Freud got most of the details wrong, but he got one enormous thing right. The call was coming from inside the house, and the question quietly changed. It stopped being, "Who is sending me these dreams?" and became, "Why on earth is my own brain doing this?" Here's what makes this so important. For a long time, plenty of scientists assumed dreams were basically garbage, noise, a meaningless byproduct of a brain idling in the dark, like the heat that comes off an engine that's just been left running. But the harder people looked, the less that held up, because dreaming is expensive. During REM sleep, your brain burns nearly as much energy as it does when you're wide awake, and evolution does not spend that kind of fuel every night for hundreds of millions of years on nothing. So researchers flipped the question around. What if the dreaming isn't a side effect? What if the dreaming is the point? Start with memory. At Harvard, a researcher named Robert Stickgold taught people a new task, then tested them again after a night of sleep. The people who slept got dramatically better at it. Not a little, a lot. Overnight, without ever practicing. It's as if your brain takes the raw mess of your day and, in the dark, sorts it, files it, and decides what's worth keeping. Then there's emotion. The sleep scientist Matthew Walker calls REM sleep overnight therapy. During REM, your brain replays your emotional memories, but with the stress chemicals switched off. It's the only time all day your brain runs in that particular chemical state. You get to revisit the worst moment of your day with the fear peeled away from it. That's why the morning genuinely can feel better. Your brain worked the night shift, and part of the job was quietly pulling the sting out of your memories, one dream at a time. But that still leaves the weirdest part completely unexplained. Why the story? Why does your brain go to the trouble of building a whole convincing world with places and faces and plot twists instead of just quietly sorting files in the background? Here's one answer. In the year 2000, a Finnish scientist named Antti Revonsuo pointed out that dreams aren't random at all. They're strangely full of threats: being chased, falling, danger, losing someone. He argued the dream is a training ground, a safe simulator where your ancestors could rehearse escaping the predator over and over all night long without ever standing in front of a real one. The ones who practiced in their sleep survived just slightly more often. And here's the thing, it fits. Your most common nightmares aren't about spreadsheets, they're about being hunted. Not everyone buys it. Back in 1977, two Harvard scientists, Alan Hobson and Robert McCarley, argued something far less romantic. During REM, the base of your brain spits out bursts of essentially random signals. The higher part of your brain, the part that spends all day desperately making sense of things, receives these random sparks and does the only thing it knows how to do. It builds a story to explain them. In this view, a dream is your brain improvising a plot out of static. And then there's a newer idea that might be the strangest of all. In 2021, a neuroscientist named Eric Hull noticed that dreams look a lot like a trick engineers use to train artificial intelligence. When you train an AI on the same tidy data for too long, it gets rigid, too locked into what it's already seen. So engineers deliberately feed it noisy, warped, nonsense versions of reality to keep it flexible. Hull thinks that's exactly what dreams are for, a nightly dose of the bizarre that stops your brain from getting too locked into your repetitive day, which would mean your dreams are weird on purpose. So here's the full picture. Somewhere deep in the animal past, hundreds of millions of years ago, brains started doing something in the dark, rehearsing, replaying, running little simulations behind closed eyes. Every creature with REM sleep inherited it, all the way up the line to a jumpy little primate that learned to stand up and speak and finally wake up and demand to know what it all meant. For thousands of years, we were sure the dreams came from outside us, gods, spirits, the future knocking. Then we looked closer and realized the sender was us the whole time. And now we think that world you disappear into every night might be doing the quiet, essential work of keeping you functional, filing away your memories, draining the fear out of your worst days, keeping your mind loose enough to survive a world that never stops changing. So tonight, when you close your eyes and that fake world flickers on, remember what it actually is. It's not a glitch, it's not wasted time, it's one of the oldest things your body knows how to do. A program that was already ancient before the first word was ever spoken out loud. Every person who has ever lived has laid down in the dark and gone somewhere that doesn't exist. Your ancestors did it in caves with predators pacing outside. You'll do it tonight in a bed under a roof they never could have imagined. And in the morning, just like all of them, you'll forget almost everything you saw. Maybe that's the deal we get. You don't get to keep the dream. You just get to be the kind of creature that has them. Sweet dreams.